Welcome to Midweek Politics. I'm David Pakman, and it's the last show of the year. It's been a long 2009, has it not, Lewis? And a lot has changed on the show, but a lot has stayed the same, if that makes any sense. It doesn't make any sense to me.
Explain.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I guess I'll rescind that. A little bit later, we'll be talking to Mary Cerez from Northampton Media, Northampton, Massachusetts, where we do our show, making national news. And I don't know how often this happens. Probably not that often, right?
Not often at all.
Not often at all. Making national news because of a serial arsonist that is on the loose, and nobody knows who he or she is. Could be either of us. It could be our intern Andrew out there who's logging the show. We don't know who the arsonist is. It could be anybody. And there's been your uncle. I call him your uncle. You call him your cousin. We'll actually ask Mary exactly who it is at the center of a lot of this. Not because he's a possible suspect, but because he's involved in what's been going on from a location point of view in the neighborhood. We'll get to it. A lot to talk about. Hello to Old Rochester Community TV in Marion, Massachusetts, Wednesdays at 4 and 8 p.m. They'll be playing Midweek Politics. Big news is that there's been an attempted blowing up of a plane on Christmas Day. And this Lewis, is really an incredible story. And it just immediately was all over the news. And, of course, thoughts of 9/11 and thoughts of terrorism starting right away. Let's take a listen to CBS's report about what happened.
Good evening. Katie's off tonight. Authorities say he had an explosive and tried to blow up a plane, but he failed. High drama that played out today inside a Delta Northwest jetliner. Flight 253 from Amsterdam was approaching Detroit when the passenger allegedly ignited some sort of powder. There was an immediate commotion, and the man was quickly subdued. As you can imagine, authorities are taking this very seriously tonight. The White House says the president has, quote, instructed that all appropriate measures be taken to increase security for air travel.
Okay, and we'll talk about what some of those security measures have been. The man's name is Umar Farouk AbdulMutallab. He's a 23-year-old Nigerian man. This was a flight that originated for him in Lagos, Nigeria, to Amsterdam, and then from Amsterdam scheduled to arrive in Detroit at 11:40 a.m. Eastern. And as the plane approached Detroit, this guy, number one, I believe he went to the bathroom for about 20 minutes, and after returning to his seat, he complained that he had an upset stomach, and he put a blanket over himself, and 20 minutes before the plane landed, just about, 10 or so minutes after he came back from the bathroom, he ignited a small explosive device. How you get an explosive device on a plane, we'll talk about. It consisted of mixing some powder and liquid acid. And apparently he had a packet of the plastic explosive sewn to his underwear. He had a syringe with the acid to cause a chemical reaction. There was some kind of an explosion or a pop is what it was described as, almost like a firecracker by some of the passengers on board. His body caught on fire, but the device did not detonate properly, fortunately. One particular passenger actually jumped over his own seat and a couple of rows of seats, Jasper Schuringa, a Dutch passenger, and he tackled and overpowered AbdulMutallab. And he saw that the suspect's pants were open. He was holding some kind of a burning object between his legs, and he said, I pulled the object from him and tried to extinguish the fire with my hands and threw it away. He burned his own hands in defending the plane. Flight attendants extinguished the fire with a fire extinguisher and blankets. It's an incredible story. It really is. Schuringa grabbed the suspect, brought him to the front of the plane. A passenger reported that the suspect was burned quite severely, is the exact quote, but he was very calm. He did not seem at all distraught, angry, loud in any way. He was totally calm about this. And when a flight attendant asked him what he had, he said, plastic explosive. I guess were the words he said. Schuringa stripped off the suspect's clothes to check for other explosives, and a crew member helped to handcuff the subject. It's an incredible story. The attack triggered a fire indicator light in the cockpit, and this made the pilot request an emergency landing and immediately request rescue and law enforcement to meet them in Detroit. And it was originally called an in-flight emergency, which normally refers to a technical issue with the plane, but it was eventually deemed a terrorist attack, which I think is appropriate in this case. The plane successfully landed in Detroit, which is where it was going to land. But in an emergency landing, from what I read, Lewis, they, instead of going through this kind of slow and steady descent, they actually accelerated and took a different path to the runway with other air traffic being cleared. Obviously, when they landed, AbdulMutallab, who again is a 23-year-old Nigerian man who tried to blow up a Northwest flight from Amsterdam to Detroit, was taken by authorities. What's your reaction to this story? Incredibly lucky that this didn't turn into a plane actually falling out of the sky.
Right. And, I think, it's a wake-up call to Homeland Security.
Right.
Obviously there are flaws in the system. Well, we already knew that.
We knew that.
But, I'm glad that, in one way, I'm glad this happened. But in another way, I'm worried about what's going to happen next time I'm waiting in line.
Well, right.
Waiting to get on a flight.
If these things have to happen, it's best that they happen like this, where there's no, other than a few burns, there's no huge harm done, because it exposes a technique.
Right.
And hopefully that technique will be prevented. Now, the thing is, every time we're preventing the techniques that have already been used, not others. And yes, there is proactive work being done.